Why does it feel like every day people are getting dumber? Why does it seem like common sense has become rare, critical thinking is almost extinct, and the loudest voices are often the least informed? Look around you. Misinformation spreads faster than truth. Influencers with no expertise are shaping opinions more than scientists and scholars. People trust 30-second clips over decades of research. And while humanity has more knowledge at its fingertips than ever before, we are using it less than ever before. Thomas Jefferson once warned, "If a nation expects to be ignorant and free, it expects what never was and never will be." And yet here we are, living in a time when ignorance isn't just tolerated, it's celebrated. The shocking reality is this: society is not evolving intellectually. It's regressing. Our tools are smarter, but our choices are dumber. We have unlimited access to education, but fewer people truly seek wisdom. We are drowning in information and starving for insight, but here's the twist. This isn't just about them, the masses, the politicians, the algorithms. It's also about us. Because every day, with every click, scroll and share, we either sharpen our mind or dull it. We either train our brain for depth or condition it for distraction. This video isn't about nostalgia for the past. It's about facing the uncomfortable truth of the present and then asking the question that matters most. What can you do to avoid becoming part of the decline? Stay with me until the end, because we're not just going to expose why society is getting dumber. We're going to uncover the path to rising above the noise and to think sharper, live smarter, and separate yourself from the mediocrity that is dragging millions down. Are you ready? Let's begin. Think about how many times today you've reached for your phone. Was it 5 times? 10 times? Or maybe you've lost count. You check one notification, and suddenly 20 minutes have vanished into a black hole of scrolling. Welcome to the age of infinite distractions. We live in a world where attention is the most valuable currency, and tech companies are fighting a ruthless war to steal yours. Every ping, every vibration, every autoplay video is designed to keep you hooked. You're not just using the platform is using you. Neuroscientists call it the dopamine loop. Each swipe, each like, each short burst of novelty gives your brain a tiny hit of pleasure. The more you indulge, the more your brain craves. Over time, your mind isn't trained to think deeply or focus for hours. It's trained to chase the next little spark. And here's the tragedy. This constant stimulation is shrinking our attention spans. Studies suggest the average attention span has dropped to less than that of a goldfish. People can binge watch 8 hours of Netflix but can't sit still for a 30-minute lecture. We skim headlines but we don't finish books. We scroll endlessly but we don't reflect. Let me give you an image. Imagine your brain as a muscle. Each time you concentrate, you strengthen it. But if all you do is flick from one distraction to another, your brain atrophies. You lose the ability to focus, to reason, to think critically. This is why society feels dumber every day, not because people are less capable, but because they are constantly distracted. And distraction is the enemy of depth. But here's the good news. Awareness is the first step. If you can learn to master your attention, instead of letting it be hijacked, you will instantly place yourself in the top 1% of thinkers in today's world. The question is, will you take back control, or will you let your mind be auctioned off to the highest bidder? In ancient Rome, the emperors had a tactic to keep the people quiet: bread and circuses. Feed them and entertain them, and they will forget about politics, corruption, and decline. Sound familiar? Today, our bread and circuses come in the form of endless entertainment: TikTok dances, reality shows, viral memes. None of these are evil by themselves, but together they create a culture where pleasure is prioritized over progress. The truth is, society now rewards distraction more than education. If you post a video explaining quantum physics, you'll get a few hundred views. Post a cat wearing sunglasses and you'll get millions. It's not that we don't have access to knowledge, it's that knowledge can't compete with cheap entertainment in a dopamine-driven world. Think about it. When was the last time you sat down to learn a skill for 2 hours without checking your phone? When was the last time you read a full book instead of watching a quick summary on YouTube? The very act of studying has become boring compared to the flashing colors of non-stop amusement. But here's the danger. Societies that stop valuing education collapse into mediocrity. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens silently, one skipped book, one ignored idea, one binge watch at a time. The brain, starved of challenge, becomes soft. History shows this pattern clearly. The Roman Empire, distracted by its own games, collapsed from within. Civilizations rise when they pursue knowledge, and they fall when they worship entertainment. And right now, if we're honest, we're leaning more toward Rome than toward Athens. But here's the twist, Wat. This is also an opportunity. Because while most people choose the circus, the few who choose education will rise above. Imagine a world where everyone else is laughing at shallow distractions while you are quietly sharpening your skills, your discipline, your mind. The gap between you and the rest will only grow wider. Entertainment is easy. Education is hard. But the future belongs to those who can delay pleasure for progress. The question is, will you feed your brain with fast food or with fuel? Look around at today's conversations, online, on the news, even in everyday life. How often do you see people calmly weighing evidence, questioning their own assumptions, or engaging in respectful debate? Rarely. Instead, what do we see? Shouting matches, conspiracy theories, and echo chambers where only one viewpoint is allowed to survive. This isn't an accident. It's the result of a society at war with critical thinking. Algorithms don't reward complexity. They reward outrage. Nuance doesn't go viral. Anger does. Facts move slowly, but falsehoods sprint across the internet. A study from MIT found that lies on Twitter spread 6 times faster than the truth. Why? Because lies are packaged to be shocking, emotional, and easy to consume, while the truth requires thought and patience. Take conspiracy theories. They flourish not because people are dumb, but because they're comforting. It's easier to believe a simple story about secret villains controlling the world than to face the messy reality of economics, politics, and human error. In psychology, this is called cognitive ease. We are drawn to what feels simple, even if it's false. But here's the danger. When we stop questioning and start consuming blindly, we become puppets. We don't think for ourselves. We let others think for us. And that is the exact definition of stupidity. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a courtroom where the jury is told only half the evidence. They don't ask questions, they don't challenge the lawyers, they just nod and agree. Would you trust their verdict? Of course not. But that is exactly how millions of people consume information today. Critical thinking is uncomfortable. It requires doubt, humility, and effort. It forces you to admit that sometimes your side is wrong, that sometimes the truth is not what you hoped it would be. And so society avoids it. We prefer the comfort of certainty over the challenge of truth. But here's the hard reality. The less we think critically, the easier we are to manipulate by politicians, by the media, by corporations. If society feels dumber every day, it's because fewer people are willing to pause, to question, to reflect. But here's where you have a choice. The moment you commit to thinking for yourself, to questioning headlines, fact-checking, and resisting the algorithm, you rise above 90% of the crowd. Critical thinking is rebellion in an age of ignorance, and the rebels will own the future. Once upon a time, success was tied to sweat, persistence, and sacrifice. Our grandparents and great-grandparents often worked brutal hours, not because they loved it, but because they had to survive. Out of that struggle came resilience, pride, and a culture that valued effort over entitlement. Fast forward to today, and the story has shifted. We glorify shortcuts. We romanticize laziness. Entire online movements celebrate doing the bare minimum, mocking the very idea of hard work as old-fashioned. Memes about quitting, skipping effort, and taking it easy rack up millions of likes. Discipline is no longer praised, it's ridiculed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every great achievement in history was built on discipline. Whether it was building cathedrals that took centuries, inventing technologies that transformed the world, or simply raising families through hard times, it was discipline, not luck. That made it possible. There's a saying, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Right now, many argue we're living in the weak men stage. Comfort has dulled our edge. Convenience has weakened our resolve. And it shows. Look at work culture today. How many people spend more time trying to avoid work than doing it? How many chase hacks and get-rich-quick schemes instead of building skills and mastery? How many people want the reward without the grind? Here's the irony. Avoiding hard work doesn't make life easier in the long run. It makes it harder. Laziness compounds just like discipline does. Skip the gym for a year and your body pays. Skip saving for a decade and your finances collapse. Skip discipline in your mind and you end up a prisoner to your own impulses. Society is becoming weaker, not because people are incapable, but because discipline is no longer admired. And yet this is exactly where the opportunity lies. In a world that worships shortcuts, those who embrace discipline will stand out like giants. The question is simple. Will you choose the path of least resistance or the path of lasting strength? We live in an age where emotions dominate everything. Logic and reason are often drowned out by outrage, fear, and impulsive feelings. Scroll through social media, and you'll see it. Arguments that are less about facts and more about who can shout the loudest. This isn't progress, it's regression. Throughout history, civilizations flourished when reason guided decisions. The Enlightenment, for example, was built on questioning assumptions, seeking evidence, and prioritizing rational debate. Today, however, we're sliding backwards. We reward emotional reactions because they grab attention. Nuance doesn't trend, but outrage does. Take cancel culture as an example. A single out-of-context clip can destroy reputations overnight. Instead of asking questions or weighing facts, the crowd responds with instant fury. The truth doesn't matter. What matters is how people feel. It's trial by emotion, not trial by reason. Here's the danger. When emotion leads and reason follows, society loses balance. Feelings are important, but they can't be the foundation of truth. Anger doesn't make something right. Fear doesn't make something real. Just because something feels true doesn't mean it is. Psychologists call this emotional reasoning. The belief that if you feel strongly about something, it must be true. And it's spreading like wildfire. It's easier to react than to research. Easier to feel than to think. But easy paths rarely lead to growth. Imagine building a bridge. Would you trust engineers who based their design on how they felt that day, or ones who relied on math and physics? The answer is obvious. Yet in society, we build entire opinions, policies, and movements on feelings alone. And the result is collapsing trust, endless division, and a culture of perpetual outrage. But here's the opportunity. In a world where most are ruled by emotions, those who learn to master theirs will rise. Emotional discipline doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, it means acknowledging them, but letting reason steer the ship. Society may glorify outrage, but the future belongs to thinkers who can stay calm in the storm, who respond instead of react, and who build their lives on truth, not tantrums. Technology was created to serve us, but slowly, without noticing, we've started serving it. Think about it. Calculators once helped us with complex equations. Now people struggle with basic multiplication without pulling out their phones. GPS was meant to guide us on long journeys. Today, many can't navigate their own neighborhood without it. We've outsourced memory, problem-solving, and even creativity to machines. At first, it feels harmless. Why memorize phone numbers when your contacts app does it for you? Why learn to spell when autocorrect fixes everything? But here's the problem. Every time you outsource thinking, your brain weakens. Just like muscles atrophy without exercise, your mind decays without challenge. Take social media algorithms as another example. They don't just show you content, they shape your beliefs. They decide what you see, what you think about, and even how you feel. In theory, you're the master. In reality, you're being trained like Pavlov's dog, responding to notifications, likes, and pings. Even artificial intelligence, the very frontier of progress, reflects this paradox. On one hand, it offers incredible potential, faster problem-solving, medical breakthroughs, creative assistance. But on the other hand, it risks making us passive. Why struggle? Why wrestle with ideas? Why train discipline when a tool can do it for you? The irony is that the smarter our technology becomes, the less effort we put into becoming smart ourselves. We let the tool become the master, and society, slowly but surely, forgets how to think. But here's the flip side. Tools are not the enemy. The real danger is dependence. A sharp mind uses technology without surrendering to it. A dull mind surrenders first and asks questions later. The choice is clear. You can let technology master you, feeding you shallow comfort while your mind grows weaker. Or you can master it, using it as leverage while still training your memory, your reasoning, your creativity. Because in the future, when machines think for everyone else, the rare few who still think for themselves will be the ones who lead. By now, it might feel like the world is spiraling into stupidity with no way back. But here's the truth. Decline in society doesn't have to mean decline in you. In fact, when the majority sink into mediocrity, the few who rise above shine brighter than ever. So how do you escape the downward spiral? First, feed your mind with depth, not junk. Read books instead of just scrolling headlines. Seek long-form conversations instead of sound bites. Even 15 minutes a day of deep reading or learning compounds into years of wisdom. Remember, most people won't do this. That's your edge. Second, discipline your attention. Guard it like treasure because it is. Put your phone down for an hour and see how hard it feels. That discomfort is proof of how much power the device has over you. Take it back. Train yourself to focus deeply, to sit with boredom, to think without distraction. In a world of noise, focus is a superpower. Third, surround yourself with thinkers. The people you spend time with shape your standards. If everyone around you is laughing at mediocrity, you will too. But if you align yourself with those who value growth, you'll rise with them. Choose carefully and finally, question everything. Don't accept opinions as facts. Don't take the easy narrative just because it's comfortable. Ask, challenge, reflect. This doesn't just sharpen your mind, it protects you from manipulation. The hope lies here. When everyone else is dumbing down, you can smarten up. When others give in to distraction, you can build discipline. When society glorifies entertainment, you can glorify growth. The decline of society is not your destiny. It's your opportunity. Because while the majority sink, the few who climb will rise to the top of culture, influence, and leadership. So ask yourself right now, will you be dragged down with the crowd, or will you be the one who escapes? So here we are. We've seen how society is becoming more distracted, more emotional, more fragile, more dependent, and yes, more stupid. But the real question isn't about them. It's about you, because while society may be on a path of decline, you don't have to walk it. You have a choice. Every day, with every decision, you either join the crowd or rise above it. Thomas Jefferson once said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." The truth is, liberty, personal and collective, begins with the mind. When you discipline your attention, when you choose knowledge over noise, when you train your brain to think instead of react, You free yourself from the chains that bind everyone else. Society might celebrate ignorance, but you can choose wisdom. Society might chase distraction, but you can choose focus. Society might glorify weakness, but you can choose discipline. The world is drowning in noise. Will you sink with it, or will you rise above and think for yourself? If this message resonated with you, don't just nod and move on. Take action. Start today by committing to one practice that strengthens your mind, whether that's reading, journaling, or simply spending an hour without distractions. And if you're ready to be part of a community that refuses to settle for stupidity, then do this right now. Like this video to support the mission. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. And comment below, I choose to rise above. Because in the end, the decline of society is inevitable. But the decline of your own mind, that's a choice.